My name is Tay Kang. I'm the program manager of Harbor Freight Tools for Schools. And on behalf of the team at Harbor Freight Tools for Schools, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for our virtual town hall on the 2024 Harbor Freight Tools for Schools Prize for Teaching Excellence. We hope that you find this session to be illuminating and insightful and inspirational as you decide to begin or continue your application for our prize. I would like to start off by talking to you today about the mission of Harbor Freight Tools for Schools and who we are as an organization, and giving you a little bit more context about with the work that we do. As you all may know, Harbor Freight Tools for Schools is a program of the Smidt Foundation, started by Eric Smidt, the owner and founder of Harbor Freight Tools, the national retail company. And our goal is to advance excellent skilled trades education in U.S. public high schools. This comes from a deep belief in the importance of learning with your hands and your head and your heart, along with tools to build and repair structures. And thanks to the generosity of Eric Smidt and the belief in the importance of and the value of skilled trades education, our flagship program is our annual Harbor Freight Tools for Schools Prize for Teaching Excellence. As you may have heard or may know, applications opened on March 12th, and the deadline for applications is May 3rd, 2024 at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So you have some time, a little over a month, to begin or continue your application if you have not done so already. We are once again awarding $1.5 million to 25 outstanding U.S. public high school skilled trades teachers and their programs. And that money is split between 5 grand prize winners who will each receive $100,000 and 20 prize winners who will each receive $50,000. And of that funds, 70% of it will go towards the winning program, and 30% of it goes towards you as an individual as well. So to begin your application, go to hftforschoolsprize.org to begin or continue your application if you haven't done so. I would like to welcome our panel. It's an incredible panel of 3 previous prize winners. We have John Lockhart, we have Kristie Jones, and Andrice Tucker.
Winning the prize back right in the middle of COVID, actually, it was definitely a game changer for me. Changed the trajectory of my career. It's just been an awesome opportunity to highlight our program. And then actually what we ended up using the funds for, we created a mobile ag mechanics lab because there are 5 agriculture programs in our county, and of those 5, only 2 had mechanic shops. And then we were able to use that money to get a trailer and to get all of the different pieces of equipment that we would need for that trailer to be just set up, for several weeks at a time at the other schools. And that's been phenomenal because it's really allowed the other teachers that were at those schools that didn't have shop spaces to still teach those basic fundamental mechanics, things that students really need. And it's really difficult to teach those without that kind of equipment. And I think we all know the actual cost of building a shop space is hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars at this point, when you're talking about a school system. So it was really, really beneficial to our county as a whole and not just our school, because we were able to impact 3 different schools. And actually this fall, we had like a little break, like a 6-week area where we actually went to another county. My coworker, where there's 2 ag teachers here, his brother teaches at Wahama High School in Mason County, West Virginia. We were able to take we got a little agreement with their county school system. He doesn't have a shop space, so it went there for 6 weeks as well. So it's really been beneficial. It's been great for students, and it's just been a definite game changer for us.
Well, it's made a tremendous impact on my program. When I took over my program, I actually had to build it from the ground up. So I was hired in to completely start from scratch. And I was starting with basically no budget. All of the equipment was at least 10 years old or older, and there was no money to replace that equipment. So basically, it put my program in the public eye, from radio interviews to news interviews. It put my program on the map, and not only did I have the prize money to start rebuilding my program, the community started investing in my program. I was also able to just upgrade things that had never been upgraded, like the electrical system, and buy large equipment that would have never been in the budget, like downdraft table and a panel saw. And then I've been able to budget out the rest of that money to last until whenever I may retire. I've been able to kind of pocket some of that back, just squirrel it away, if you will, to put up. My students are in Skills USA competitions. So even now, I don't have to make my students pay for any of their Skills USA uniforms. They don't have to pay for the registration fees. I'm still using that money to help my students with those sorts of expenses. So it's been a game changer for my program. And the personal prize money was pretty nice too.
Winning the prize just changed the game for our entire school, just get the recognition for our school, our program as well. Another thing that also we were able to use the prize money for was for students that were going out in the field. I'm still buying tools, tool boxes, tool carts for them now. We're talking 2 years in. And I think we can extend that for another 2 to 5 years, potentially, depending on how we budget. It's just been great because I do want to give back to the students because that's what helped us to win the prize in the first place.
If you can tell a story and paint a picture about what you do every single day to develop skills and to prepare kids, that's going to go a long way with the group of judges and the people that critique these. They want that real tangible stuff of what you do. And if you can highlight your best practices of what you do to make kids better and to prepare them for careers, it's going to be a winner every time.
Focusing in on what makes you stand out. What is that one thing that sets you apart?
Being as genuine as you can. You guys already do a great job as teachers. Just tell your stories and tell them genuinely. As being a former person who's also done some judging, one thing I would look for if I'm in this, I want to see how genuine your stories are. I want to hear some real stories, real successes. That makes the most difference. And all of us have it as being teachers. You have it right there. It's just putting it on paper, telling that story and that success.
Especially if you're at a smaller school, I still wouldn't be scared to share your successes as a percentage of your student body. I know that's what I did, because I was afraid that, oh man, they're going to see that we had 5 kids, but 5 out of our program is pretty impressive when you look at it as a percentage of the whole. So if you talk about those as percentages of if you're in a smaller school, if you're in a bigger school, just use those raw numbers. Talk about students that are obtaining certificates, talk about students that are, obtaining those things within Skills USA or within FFA or the, CTSO that you have. That definitely stands out. It shows that you're going above and beyond what your county's asking you to do. If you're advising those students in those competitions or those other areas of competition that those CTSOs have. And then if you've got students that are in National Technical Honor Society in your program, don't be afraid to add those things, because that you were a part of that as their advisor, or teacher. And it's just highlight all the aspects with those numbers and make sure that correlates with what you're talking about. So if you, like, I know we were really excited. We had some students pass that EETC small engines training. We added that in, and then we talked about all the in the application with the numbers. I talked about the actual work with that individual student. So, kind of make them both tangible and work with each other. But even if you're in a small school, don't be afraid to share the numbers, just talk about it as a percentage of your student populace.
Basic teaching information, number of years taught and that sort of thing, but just any relevant data that proves how your program is impacting your students and your community. For example, how many students do you have that are graduating and actually going and working in the trades? That would be some relevant data to share.
Dual credits, that's one that we touched on a little bit in our program. That's a big one. Um, and then the percentage of not just graduates that are in the field, but the percentage of graduates that are actually master techs in the field. If you've been teaching for a while, depending on what your career is based on, that's stuff that'll really change the game for you. Those numbers, and just also knowing that feedback that you're getting, that hey, I had a student 5 years ago that came back, stuff like that. Those numbers really make a difference, and it's more interpersonal too.
Just watch them and then try to tie it into what you already do, or what you're going, how you're going to approach using that within your classroom. That's how I did it. And I watched it. I just sat down. The other thing I would say, the window's open for it seems like a pretty long time. But each stage of the application piece, you really got to spend time on it. Teachers are the ultimate procrastinators. 11 years in, I know this for a fact. This is not something you can wait until that last even week. So yeah, just watch those, take what from it you can, and then just talk, and in your application, just talk about how you plan to implement it.
I approached the learning modules like I would expect my students to approach the learning modules. I took my time with them. I took notes as I went through the learning modules. And then, just like John said, it's important to see how can you apply those to what you're already doing. So just take your time with them, take notes as you go through them, and ask yourself questions as you go along. What is in this learning module that I'm either A, I'm already doing, or B, how could I apply this to, something in the future of what I can do?
What I did on the learning modules, on all 3 times I tried, I actually went and took notes through each one, posted notes on each one, through each video, stopped going through it. And I didn't get intimidated. The first one I got intimidated by, I'm like, I can't ever do this. But then I really looked at it like, how can I apply it? And just kind of kept it real simple. Here's what I could do as a way to like take on that learning module. So that's kind of one tip I'll have for that.
One thing I wish I'd highlighted a little bit more, and I think we have all had these students that, if you can reach a student that comes in at the beginning and tries to get by with just that bare minimum, and if you can work with that kid to get more out of them than that, or even if you can have them be like a successful leader in your program, because I've had that as a teacher, where they come in at first and, man, I'm just going to get by with as little as I possibly can to get a C, and then by the end of 4 years later, because we're lucky enough to have our students for 4 or 2 years later, depending on your program, if they're a leader and they take some initiative and take some ownership in what you're doing, I think that would stand out to judges. I really do.
I was too data heavy on my first application. I think I allowed myself to get bogged down in data. I just saturated my first application with too much data and not enough personality. I learned off of that first application that I needed to be more personal and let the judges know who I am and how I'm actually impacting my students and my program in a more personal way. I needed to be more relatable. And I think that that's the biggest takeaway that I had, was becoming more relatable. Data's great. And, the judges, that they need to see some data, but don't be so heavy on the data. So that was what I learned from the first time to the second time when I won.
I wish I'd have added more of like the parents that I got involved in student successes, such as stories like where a student they didn't want their student in the program at all. I got the student a job, and now the student's still working there 3 years later. Like, I wish I'd have added stories like that in there that really could have made a huge impact and made the judges see that. My first couple applications, I wish they could have seen that. I just felt like I left a little bit on the table that I know I've done and I didn't put in there. So that's where we go back to sharing as much success as you can within that range.
I would say even if they did make it in that top 50 to keep trying. I mean, if it was an application that was all just sing the praises of your students, right? We would all do it and we would run with it, and it'd be even harder to judge the applications because teachers are just naturally, instinctively not going to brag about themselves. It's easy to brag on your kids, it's easy to brag on your program, but like if you're not making it into that top 50, I mean, there's 950 other people that are in the same boat as you. So I would not let that get you down. The caliber from the ones that I've seen, and then with the networking that we do afterwards, the people, I'm still in awe that I'm in that category. When I saw that Kristie and Andrice were going to be on this, is like, man, I'm not on their level. So I would not get me down at all, and I would keep at it if you're interested in it, for sure.
Advice, definitely keep trying. My biggest advice, I think, because John, he just really said it. We're so good at bragging on our students, but we're so bad at bragging on ourselves. So my advice is, after you write up, your rough draft of your application, take it to a non-teacher friend, because they're going to help you brag on yourself.
I made finalists in the top 50 twice before I finally won. And I was at that point of, man, I might want to give up. And I felt like my second application was it. I was like, this is it. This is going to win it. And I didn't. So I was down on myself. So I went in everything I had on that third one. And I really took time to hone in everything I need to do. I had my wife doing editing for me to make sure I didn't have a grammatical issue. I just really honed in on that application because I was to the point, and I'm sure others are, I'm going to give up. But being a part of the Harbor Freight Tools for Schools family has changed my life, and it's changed. I mean, I can think we can all attest to this, John and Kristie. I had no clue what I was walking into. It was not just about prize money, um, but it made a difference in getting in there, trying. And after seeing kids, when I gave toolbox to kids last year, and the kids crying and still reaching out to me this year about it, changing his life was worth all of it. It was worth all of it for me. So my advice to you is just keep trying, keep pushing through. It's just no different than us going for our own certifications, getting our teaching license, all that stuff. It's the same thing. Keep pushing for it.
The networking that you do with other prize winning teachers, you can't put a price on that. You cannot put a price on that. And that's been phenomenal. And 11 years into this career, avoid professional development like the plague. But I would never say that about the things that Harbor Freight Tools for Schools puts on. I always look forward to it. I enjoy it. We've got a great group of people that are very accepting and helpful, and just it's good fellowship. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If you look through the prize winner list and you see people from your state, man, I'd bet a paycheck that if you sent them your application, they'd look over it. I mean, honestly, there's not a person that I've met through the Harbor Freight Tools for Schools that wouldn't try to help you. And so don't be afraid to help. We've still got a lot of time between now and when the deadline's done, or even if there's like just pieces that you've got questions about, look through that prize winner list. There's prize winner list there, the maps on the website. And if you see people in your area, I'm absolutely certain they would help.
From the Harbor Freight Tools for Schools family has been amazing. Just reaching out to my automotive guys, my construction guys and gals, it's been awesome because we communicate throughout the year advice, events that we do, we share them out to each other. That way people can participate in that or give ideas for it too. It's amazing. It's unlike anything I thought I was going to be a part of. I thought it was going to be win the prize, go home, take your prize, and that's it. It's so much more than that.
I would bet that if you've judged, right? I think all four of us have. I never read a bad application. You know, even out of that 1,000, there's not a bad one. So don't be, you may think it's mundane, but if it's, you know, if it's a core piece of what you do, it's got value. And so don't be afraid to just to share your story and what you do and the successes that you've had and your students have had, and you can't go wrong.
We don't allow our students to fail. We don't allow them to stop either when they don't get it the first time. So treat it like you would an assignment for your students. That's how I approached it. Even when I'm ready to give up, I kept on going. So that's my piece of advice to you. Keep going.
I want to thank everyone out there. If you have any further questions or concerns, please feel free to email us at prize@hftforschools.org. Once again, it's prize@hftforschools.org, or visit the website hftforschoolsprize.org to begin or continue your application. Again, the deadline is May 3rd at 5 p.m. Pacific time, so you have some time to go work on your application today. So let's get to work.